Hey, it's the 16th. Do you realise that means we're halfway through this challenge? Can you believe you're still here? Once you've written today, you will be over the hump. You will be on the downhill slide to the end of the month. And I know that you're not going to give up. If anyone's just joined us because they've maybe heard about this late in the month, don't even worry about it. Don't worry about trying to catch up with days that you've missed. Just join us and write for the rest of the month. If you're really gung-ho and you want to write a month of short stories, you can carry on into June. But join us for this ride to the end of the month. For the next 7 days, because I know that a lot of you out there are also novel writers, we're going to use the short story as a means to help you delve more deeply into your novel world and make a richer, more complete, more rounded novel. So that this short story month is not necessarily a month away from your novel world, but is actually helping you to get to your goals of completing a fabulous and rich novel. Now, if you're not a novelist, then hang with me, because anytime I give you an exercise like take a character from your work in progress, you can simply take a character from a story that you want to write, from a story you've written before, or a side character from something, and work the exercise, write the story with that person in mind. Alternatively, if you are not a novelist but would like to do some of these exercises and you don't have a story that seems to fit with the prompt, take somebody else's character. If I tell you to write about a secondary character or a supporting character from your work in progress, take a little known and ignored character from your favourite TV show or your favourite novel and write their story. Do the exercise that I encourage you to do with somebody else's character. Don't try and publish these, because they will then get you into a world of copyright and derivative works, and if you're not willing to go there, then these are just as exercises or to share with friends. But all the exercises for the next 7 days should help everybody work on different aspects of storytelling, from character through point of view, setting, world building. And yes, world building does apply to everyone. It's talked about a lot in the science fiction and fantasy community, because when you're inventing the whole world, you have to set up all the rules. When you write a contemporary novel or short story, you sort of assume that gravity is going to apply and water is going to boil at 100 degrees centigrade and all of those things. But there are still instances where that's not the case. If you set your story in Colorado, water is going to boil a bit faster because of the high altitude. Or is it lower? I forget. I should know that. Anyway, doesn't matter. You can do the research. And when we get to that section, you'll have an opportunity to do that, exactly that kind of thing. For today, we're going to start out with characters, and we're going to start out with protagonists, because it's their story. We should really start there. If you're writing short stories only, consider taking a character from a story you've already written and delving more deeply into their past with this. If you have a novel you've completed or a novel you're working on, take your protagonist and apply today's prompt to that protagonist. This is something that I've done, I think I've done once before as a weekly prompt, but I really found it's something I stole from a writer called Lisa Cron, and you should totally get her book Story Genius, which is a manifesto for storytelling over story structure. And storytelling is all about emotion. Storytelling is all about the character and why they do the things they do. And one of the things that Lisa talks about in her book and in her lectures, if you get a chance to see her, is that the character, your protagonist, does not turn up on page 1 out of nowhere. They turn up on page 1 with a past. You didn't get to today. You weren't dropped onto this earth today as a writer. Everything that's ever happened to you informs who you are today. When we look at protagonists especially, we usually try and find, in a novel, we can be a little more sketchy in short stories usually, but usually there is something with every protagonist where they have an internal conflict, and that is equally as important as the external conflict. Somebody is running from an earthquake. It's still important to know why they won't accept help from the man across the street. And it's because of something that happened before the story started. So today's prompt is to take your protagonist and go back into their past. Think about their internal conflict, think about their character flaw, however you identify that internal journey that your character is on, and write the story of the first time this came up for them. It might be in childhood, it might be something that happened most recently, and as Lisa Cron brilliantly puts it, at some point, reacting the way they do with this misapprehension of the world and this misunderstanding of how things really work, at some point it was a good thing and it protected them. If you think about James Bond, he's very callous with women. He's very love him and leave him. And in one of the movies, we get to go back and see why. He falls deeply in love, and the woman he marries is murdered. Brutally, stunningly, shockingly, on their wedding day, I think. And that explains a lot about why Bond is the way he is in later movies and earlier movies. So try and find a moment, he's protecting himself, and it ends up not working out for him later on because he can't get close to anybody. And his lifestyle, doesn't work out for the same reason. But there are things, so that's the decision about the women is informed by other issues in his past. He's an orphan, he obviously has attachment issues. So there are lots of things in your character's past that build on each other and create the internal flaw that they deal with all the way through your novel or all the way through your short story. Take us back to the moment that they first started using whatever they're using that's causing them problems in your later story, to show us why it happened, show us why they started reacting this way, show us why they started believing that acting this way was a good thing. This is going to take a little while to think about. You may already have a character and you may know this stuff, but if you've never written the scene, write the scene. Write the story. And if you've written it for a main character in a novel you're close to completing, think about your next novel. I know there are ideas in the back of your head nibbling away. Think about your next novel and think about another character who you could take back into their past and discover the moment that their internal struggle becomes an internal struggle. And in the meantime, I recommend you pick up a copy of Lisa Cron's book, Story Genius. You may have to put it aside until the end of May because it's very absorbing and there are lots of writing exercises in there that you probably don't have time to get to this month, but I highly recommend it. And if you get a chance to see Lisa Cron talking at a conference or a seminar or anything, highly recommend it. So go and write. That was a long introduction today. I apologise for that, but you can always zip over to the prompt and ignore me. I'll be back tomorrow with more stuff on character, more stuff on protagonist for a couple of days. Then we're going into secondary character, setting, world building, all that good stuff. And then next week we're going to play with story forms. So it's going to be a deep dive this week into building a world and building characters. And next week it's going to be having fun with language, having fun with form. And after that, we're just going to have a few days to mop up. And then we can start looking forward to Storyfest, which is my little celebration of StoryADay May that I run every June, round about the middle, round about my birthday weekend. I think it's the weekend before my birthday this year, the 10th or so. 9th and 10th. And you can nominate one of your stories to be highlighted at the site, and I put up this big splashy page and everybody gets to come and find all of the favourite stories that you've written this month. So that's Storyfest coming in June. This month, deep dive into using short stories to help deepen your novel or just to deepen the world of your short stories. Next week, all about form, having fun with language. So keep gathering your story sparks because we're kind of running out of these prompts where people give you a scenario. I'm not doing that much because I don't know. If I give you a scenario for a heist or a mystery, you might not like writing that. You might not like that kind of genre, that kind of style, and I might be wasting your time. So we've done a little bit of that for warming up and for fun and for, I'm sure you've managed to get some good stuff out of the prompts that our writer friends have given us. For the next couple of weeks, we're just focusing on technique, and you're going to be responsible for figuring out who's going to be in the story, where it's going to be set, all of that kind of stuff. So wander around the world, pick up story sparks, look at the way people dress, look at the way they talk to each other, take mental snapshots of quirky alleyways or colours or smells, whatever you need to do. Try and gather 3 story sparks a day. I'm going to try and do it too. And I will meet you back here. Well, I'll see you in the comments. And I'll meet you back here at storyaday.org tomorrow for the second of our deep dives into the world of the protagonist. Keep writing.